Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:06. It's O'Connor and Company this Tuesday morning. Mercedes Schlapp, there's a woman from Baltimore, Katie Pumphrey. She is swimming 24 miles from the Bay Bridge to Baltimore's Inner Harbor for a fundraising event. Would you swim that kind of distance in the Chesapeake Bay?
I mean, you might have to have an ambulance on the other side of the river
for the intake of the bioorganisms, or just for your fatigue.
Fatigue, but it's
not like the cleanest harbor ever, the Baltimore Harbor. But
I know, but I
part
was
of this is to
people
highlight
now
cleanup
swimming
efforts. They want to make Baltimore swimmable again. So
maybe she can be in scuba diving gear or something like that.
Good for Katie. Congratulations, Katie Pumphrey. She's about 3.5 hours into with a 24-mile swim, I should say. And that's pretty cool. She's an ultra swimmer. I'm an ultra wader.
What does that mean?
I can wade in the water.
Oh, wade.
Well.
Wade.
Wader.
Yeah.
We got Lee Zeldin coming up in 10 minutes, and then in 30 minutes, Payton McNabb, one of those female athletes who has been affected by Joe Biden's insistence on having men compete against women because he's a creep. Catherine Herridge, one of our favorite reporters over the years, she recently had some sort of, suspicious dismissal, let's say, from CBS News. In an unprecedented fashion, it appears that CBS News confiscated all of her notes and recordings and everything that she was reporting on. And, of course, let's face it, Catherine Herridge is known for blowing the whistle on government malfeasance of many different types. And I'm not sure what she was reporting on at the moment CBS fired her, but I can suspect it had something to do with exposing all the right kind of people in our government. Well, she has now turned to the X platform for her independent reporting, and she has an incredible story about a member of the military affected by the COVID-19 vaccine. Take a listen to this report, or portions of it. We'll start with Cut 10. This is Carolina Stancic in Catherine Herridge's independent report.
Meet Carolina Stancic, a specialist in the Army National Guard. She takes 27 pills every day after suffering her first heart attack while on active duty.
Did you have heart issues before you joined the military?
Not a single heart issue. I could run 10 miles at a time, play basketball, and now I have trouble just standing up.
What's to blame?
I mean, the only thing that would have changed was the COVID vaccine, and that's when everything flipped upside down for me.
Government records obtained by our investigative team confirm Stancic has a serious heart condition, and her case may open the door to service members who believe they were harmed by the Defense Department's COVID vaccine mandate.
According to this Army memo, your debilitating heart condition can be caused by either COVID-19 infection or the COVID-19 vaccine. Have you ever tested positive for COVID-19?
I don't have a single positive test for COVID-19.
So is this Army memo an acknowledgement that your heart condition is the result of the COVID vaccine?
It 100% is an acknowledgement that it was a result of a vaccine.
This is absolutely huge. It's ginormous, in fact. And it's obviously exposing the military's arbitrary and unnecessary vaccine mandate. And I know everyone's like, oh, in retrospect, we didn't know this about the vaccine at the time. We didn't know it. There were plenty of people who were raising red flags about the vaccine, but set that aside for a moment. What we did know about COVID-19 is if you were young, if you were healthy, if you didn't have comorbidities, you were not in danger of being severely affected by the virus. And that describes every single person in the military.
Yeah.
It was not needed in the military, but they went ahead and did this to satisfy Joe Biden's demand that this thing be mandated wherever he could force it.
Well, look, this is we covered this issue so much during CPAC on the fact of these concerns and raising questions about a new type of vaccine that was mRNA that didn't have enough data. And I remember going to the doctors, Larry, and they were like, in D.C., you really should get the vaccine. And then what you realize is the doctors get a kickback because of depending on how many vaccines people would take regarding COVID. It's a complete sham. The reality is these vaccine mandates were, I think, a horrible requirement, not only in the military, but in so many other cases.
Yeah.
And I think this is something where Senator Ron Johnson, he's held committee hearings talking about these injuries, highlighting these injuries that, guess what? Pfizer and Moderna, they're not liable for any of these injuries.
Right. They were given,
they're not liable. And then the VAR's reporting system is not up to date. It's so complicated to put everything in, but you look at these charts and it's very clear that there's been a lot of people who have these vaccine injuries. It's clearly from the vaccine. And it's really troubling that, these young people their lives will never be the same.
I want to highlight more of Catherine Herridge's great reporting here, and you can see the entire video on her X platform as well. Let's go to cut 13, where Carolina Stancic, this member of the United States Military Reserves, was so affected by the damage that she believes was done, and it appears this memo confirms that the damage was done due to the vaccine. Listen.
And I would just want to read you some text messages that you've shared with us. I've said it before, but if I was alone, I'd 1,000% consider a permanent exit. Did you seriously consider suicide?
I did. I talked about it with my cardiologist, and I just told her, I'm ready for this to just be done. I don't know how much longer I can take this.
And let's be clear, when Biden, remember when Biden kept going out, this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. There was a movement in this country that appeared to cut across political lines. It wasn't really this way, but the media and Democrats like to paint it as those crazy Trump-loving MAGA Republicans refuse to get the vaccine. And they're backwards, and they're stupid, and they're unscientific. I remember them saying, well, if they do get sick, they should be denied medical care. They shouldn't be allowed in a hospital. It was so discriminatory. It was so blatant.
You're killing people because you don't have the vaccine.
That's
right. That was the big line from the liberals.
And of course, Biden's entire career, and certainly his presidency, has been about division, about vitriol, about pitting us against each other. So he was able to use the vaccine and vaccine mandates as a weapon against voters who supported Donald Trump. And so he jumped on this thing and was so mean and nasty and mean-spirited about the whole thing. And it forced people to get this against their will, as this person in the military did. And a little bit more, because this is such great reporting. Cut 15, please, of Ms. Stancic explaining what happened to her.
When our team recently interviewed Stancic, she faced another medical crisis.
We are sitting down just days before you're having major heart surgery.
I'm getting a pacemaker in 2 days.
How does it happen at 24?
It's that's not what I expected for myself. I thought I was going to be doing marathons, and I'm literally sitting here not allowed to drive.
Based on interviews you've given previously, one criticism is that you're an anti-vaxxer. Another criticism would be that you're doing this story because you're trying to push an anti-vaccine agenda.
That is not the case. My story, my health is my own. I've had to live these traumas, and so I would never want to ever see someone go through the same thing as me.
She is a 24-year-old soldier who is in the peak of physical condition. And because of Joe Biden and the Democrats and the media's obsession with this shot that ruined people's lives because they either had their own physical apprehensions about it or religious convictions that, compelled them not to get the shot. Yeah, they were more than happy to ruin their lives.
Think about the ad dollars that were spent by all these pharmaceutical companies into these media companies to push the vaccine. I mean, it was such a marketing ploy.
No matter
and then
where
now you have 5 U.S. states that are suing Pfizer. So it's a huge problem.
No matter where you stand on this issue, then or now, your heart must go out with compassion to people like this young woman, this 24-year-old woman, Caroline Stanzik. And also, you've got to tip your hat to great reporting, focused and professional reporting from one of our best, Catherine Herod. She's so good. Of course she was not worthy for the likes of CBS News. But good job, Catherine. It's 7:06.
Later this morning on the Chris Plante Show, a 3-on-1 presidential debate scheduled for Thursday night, and the brawling has already begun. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
Today's the New York primary. Listen to Congressman Jamal Bowman in a political fight for his life at that rally, the hysterical rally that he and AOC and Bernie Sanders screamed at over the weekend. Listen to a little bit of it.
We're going to show in APAC the power of South Front. People ask me why I got a foul mouth. What am I supposed to do? You coming after me. You coming after my family. You coming after my children.
I'm so glad that the norms have been restored to politics and the grown-ups are in charge, and we've moved past all of the divisive years of the Trump presidency. That's Jamal Bowman. That's a Democrat, and he's trying to get votes in New York. Is it going to work? Lee Zeldin is a former New York congressman, colleague of Jamal Bowman, and also the candidate for governor of New York. He missed it by that much in 2022. Congressman Zeldin, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's good to be with you both.
So is Jamal Bowman going to pull this out? He seems to be losing in the primary, and I can't believe New Yorkers. I mean, listen, New Yorkers like to keep it real, as they say, but I don't think they're going to jump on board that kind of behavior.
And what's interesting here is we're talking about a Democratic primary. There are no votes for registered Republicans or conservatives. This is about Democrats inside of that district and how much do they cringe watching that footage coming from that rally, whether or not this is the same Democratic Party that they once signed up for. There are a lot of Jewish voters, Democrats in that district who hear Jamal Bowman's rhetoric and probably far more than cringe. They're, I would imagine, quite angry about it. I see in that rally somebody who knows that they're losing. I mean, if he was on path to win, if he was confident, I don't think he would have been acting as insane like that. So maybe we're going to see the first member of the squad lose.
That's a great point.
That'd be great. Talking about a member of the squad and someone who's unhinged, AOC also appeared in her, I would say, almost like dancing shoes. She was like jumping up on the stage, really fighting hard for Bowman. There weren't a lot of people there, but as we know, with these elections, it's all about voter turnout. How does it look for George Latimer, who's the opponent?
Well, there's been so much money that's been spent in this race that of all the different primaries that are going on in New York today, this might be the one that gets the most amount of votes. However, this is a district that traditionally, as it relates to elections, including general elections, have been showing up less, especially the Bronx part of that district. So it'll be interesting to see. I think there's going to be low turnout all across the state. And when you have low turnout, anything can happen.
Lee Zeldin, it's remarkable to me, given the state of our economy, inflation, crime in New York, where, you have another story of a horrific sexual assault of a 13-year-old girl in a Queens Park by an illegal immigrant. And Jamal Bowman is not talking about any of those things. He's talking about AIPAC. He's using AIPAC as a euphemism for Jews. He's running an obviously anti-Semitic campaign, linking AIPAC and Wall Street, which is a euphemism for, Jew bankers. And he's only screaming about ceasefire now, as if that's the most compelling issue for the people of his district, considering what they're living through.
Well, that is so spot on. And inside of that district, there are people who are struggling to make ends meet. They're hitting their breaking point in the state of New York. They're not feeling safe on their streets. The quality of education, their kids' schools is being eroded. They want people in government to be addressing their top issues that are determining whether or not they even have a future where they are, where they live. And you're talking about an issue that is way down on the radar for so many of these primary voters. And a lot of the Jewish voters, I think, watch this messaging, and they're more likely to vote. They're more intensely supporting Latimer for it. He's probably recruited more volunteers, more donors, both small and high dollar. And most importantly, he's probably recruited more voters because of it. And the last thing I'll tell you is, Latimer is not a no-name guy. He is the county executive of Westchester County. He was a state senator before that. So why isn't Jamal Bowman trying to define his opponent? Why is he not trying to reach out to any of these voters inside of Westchester on the issues that matter most to them? It's a clue. It's an indication that maybe he's thinking about post-Congress.
Well, Mercedes, and I'll ask Congressman Zeldin too, but you can start, Mercedes. Couldn't this be a formula for Trump actually making inroads in New York? You remember he just did a rally in that very same area in the Bronx with thousands of people turning out.
Yes.
Couldn't this be a formula for Trump to make inroads in New York as well?
Well, as Lee Zeldin knows well, I think the campaign will have to decide where they want to spend their resources and where they can likely win. So I'm going to turn the question to Lee Zeldin, which is, does Trump even have a chance in New York? I feel like the infrastructure is so not prepared. I mean, you were the one that got the closest to actually winning a statewide race there. It's a challenge.
Independent poll after independent poll is showing this as a single-digit race.
Wow.
A lot of these independent polls that are coming out are not even including RFK Jr. in the poll. Siena College poll is the latest one. Again, no RFK or Jill Stein or any of those folks. They undersample Republicans. They oversample New York City. Despite all of that, they still show it as a single-digit race. It is tough. It is uphill. But I think that it's a great sign, not just for a place like New York, but when you look at possibilities to expand the map, New Jersey, Virginia, New Mexico, Minnesota, New Hampshire, I think a lot of the political earth under us is shifting right. If New York is going from 23 points for Biden in 2020 to what the polls say now, 6 to 8 points to Biden as of today in 2024, well, clearly, when you get into some of these other states where the registrations are more favorable, President Trump might have an opportunity to win some new states that he didn't win in 2020.
Wow.
Wow,
All right.
That's impressive.
Congressman Zeldin, we'll leave it. We always love having your insights here, especially when it comes. But also, you've become a go-to surrogate for the Trump campaign. Do you have any insights, by the way, into the debate prep? Have you been privy to any of that? Do you know how the former president is getting ready? Are you working on any of the, mock debates or anything with him?
Well, I have great answers to the question that, out of respect for a president, I'll keep to myself. I will just say this. It's up to him to decide, what he wants to talk about in that respect. But I am confident that he's going to show up serious, prepared. He'll be ready. But I'll say for those who are trying to bottom out expectations on President Biden, he's taking off this entire week. He is going. He's going to be probably medicated or however else they get him alert. I expect President Biden to be alert and prepared and serious. So I think both of them will show up Thursday ready. This isn't just, oh wow, there's a debate today. No, I think both of them are going to be ready for it. I hope that even though it's 3-on-1, it's CNN, the mic is muted. I think President Trump, really just needs to get into great aspects of his record from when he was in office, things that are wrong with what's going on now, and a positive, uplifting message of what he knows his vision looks like if implemented, if given the opportunity to serve again in January. He has what he needs to do great.
Congressman Lee Zeldin, always a great conversation, sir. Thank you.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:37. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Mercedes Schlapp. When I was in Scranton with Julie Gunlock to kick off the IWF bus tour, I got to meet our next guest, Payton McNabb. She has been affected by the outrageous, despicable, anti-scientific, and discriminatory practice of allowing biological males to play in women's sports. That's why she's part of the bus tour, sponsored by Independent Women's Forum, rolling into D.C. today with Riley Gaines, Paula Scanlan, Martina Navratilova, a whole host of great people that you want to go out and support. We need WMAL Nation out there. It's going to be in the bullpen right outside center field gates of Nats Park. Go to ourbodiesoursports.com to get the information. Payton McNabb, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
How's the tour been? I mean, it must be really weird for you to sort of tell your story and over again. It was like the worst day of your life. This dude, smacks a volleyball at your head, causing these horrible injuries, and now you're using it as something to motivate other people to really get involved.
Yeah, it's definitely been different. I've had a great time getting to travel around the country and stand up for women and girls. But like you said, it was a really difficult day in my life, and it is hard to keep reliving that. But I think that it really does encourage others, and that's what I'm going to keep using it for. And yeah, there is some good to it, even though it is really, really bad.
Yeah.
Payton, you mentioned and you testified before the North Carolina General Assembly back in 2023, and you said in your testimony, I'm here for every biological female athlete behind me, my little sister, my cousins, my teammates. Allowing biological males to compete against biological females is dangerous. I may be the first to come before you with an injury, but if this doesn't pass, I won't be the last. You have the experience. You've dealt with the horrific pain and the injuries that came from this sort of situation. I mean, there's even these other sports like lacrosse and several others where, I mean, someone could die from having, a biological male play on the teams. What's your message as you're going around talking to different women? What are you hearing from different women on what you all are doing right now?
Yeah, so like you said, your first point, I mean, that's a question that we've had to ask over and over, unfortunately. I mean, what is the magic number for the amount of girls that need to get hurt? Because unfortunately, I was right, and I was not the last at all, and I won't be until things do get changed. And traveling around the country has been awesome, talking to all these amazing women in all these different places, and it's a lot of support. It might not look like it online or anything, but in person, everyone knows that this is an issue and it needs to come to an end.
You're from North Carolina, and it was when the bus tour was in North Carolina that it got vandalized. The bus was defaced with graffiti, calling you anti-woman, calling you a bigot. Tell me about that. Tell me how that makes you feel, and whether you think that does that basically embolden you even more when they call you these names? Because a lot of people are afraid to speak out like you are, Payton, because they're afraid of this kind of reaction.
Well, absolutely. I mean, none of those people were there. Like, none of them will show their face and have a genuine conversation. Even though differences might be there, they just can't have that conversation, even though they see themselves as the tolerant left. Those words and everything they did, I mean, that didn't do anything for me other than just get me more fired up to keep doing what we're doing. And I know that's the same reaction from every other woman in this tour. Yeah, I don't think that I think that they got the wrong reaction that they were hoping for.
Well, it's listen, I'm looking at the route that this thing, again, starting in Scranton, Pennsylvania, you've gone all the way out to Montana, Nevada, Arizona, literally crisscrossing the country. This is close to your last stop in D.C., and I think it's going to be a pretty high-profile one. Are you ready for all those cameras and all the people and our great listeners who are going to come out and support you today?
Oh, absolutely. I hope there are so many people that we can't even keep count, because this does deserve all the attention. It is happening, and it's happening everywhere.
Yep. And this is how we change things. 5:30 p.m. today. Payton will be there. Riley Gaines will be there. Paula Scanlan, Jennifer Say, who we spoke to yesterday. Martina Navratilova, They're all coming together to join in this one idea to keep Title IX for women only. Females should be the only ones who are participating in women's sports. Payton McNabb, I'm so proud of you. I've got a daughter basically your age, and I would be just beaming with pride if I saw her coming out with your kind of courage to tell your story. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. That was so sweet. Thank you for all y'all are doing. We need more people like you who are willing to share our stories and keep the fight going. So thank you.
Just you wait. I have full faith in the WML Nation. By the way, our own Patrice Onwuka, our co-host here on O'Connor & Company, she's going to be emceeing the event today. Again, 5:30 at the Bullpen down by Nats Park. It's free. Just go to ourbodiesoursports.com for all the information. We'll see you there, Payton. Thanks.
Awesome. See you there.
It is 7:40. Taylor Swift played Wembley Stadium in London. You know, Prince William was there for one of the performances, and her boyfriend, NFL player Travis Kelce, debased himself by dressing up and dancing on stage with her for one of her acts. It's all very bizarre.
That was embarrassing.
But then at one moment, she got the fans to sing along with her as she sang the words, F the patriarchy. This in a country ruled by a king, by the way. So, I mean, that's...
With the future king there, right?
Yes.
I mean, come on.
You're actually the guest of the patriarchy. Yeah, I don't know. You remember Grimes? This is the person that Elon Musk had multiple babies with. She's a model and stuff.
I try not to keep tabs on.
It is hard
Elon
to keep
Musk's kids.
Well, let's remember that Grimes actually had some nice things to say about the patriarchy. Let's remind everyone.
Like, for example, for me, like, wake up in the morning, daily motivation, smash the patriarchy, you know?
I kind of like the patriarchy. Like,
What do you like about it?
I like the supply chain, food, Uber, roads, civilization, you know, like, there's a lot of good things that came from
Yeah. You know, I mean, that's Chris Plank goes on this rant sometimes, right?
My girls really love Taylor Swift's music, but you know, and it's hard because she's obviously politically not on the right side in any way. But you know, the girls always tell me there's like the clean version of these records. So, for example, Olivia Rodrigo. Don't you think I'm so cool? I know all of this stuff.
Very impressive.
Like she has a clean version, and then she has the one.
Yeah,
that
they
have
do
the bad
this.
Words
They
in it.
put
my
out the
kids
cleanest.
know, like they can't have the ones with the bad words in it. So, like Taylor Swift should have known better. There are like teen bop. What do they call them? Teen poppers. What do they say that word? Like teenage girls just. Teeny boppers. Thank you.
I hate to break it to Taylor Swift, but she's literally one of the richest people on the planet because she dresses up in go-go boots and a leotard and sings songs to a bunch of teenagers. She's raking in literally billions of dollars because of it.
She is the patriarch. Are you
exactly.
kidding me?
Taylor
she
Swift
is the patriarch.
You are in fact the man. It's 7:50.